Hello, good morning to all of you in Vietnam. Uh, my name is Abdul Bashir Jibril. I am Assistant Professor of Marketing and Strategy here in Rabat Business School of the International University of Rabat. Thank you for giving me this opportunity as a keynote speaker in contributing to this important conference at Ho Chi Minh City University of Food Industry. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Uh, I am originally from Ghana. I did my bachelor degree in economics and entrepreneurship. Then I moved to Europe to study marketing and management at the master's level, and also proceeded to continue my PhD in the same university in the Czech Republic. I have opportunity to also have a research as a research fellow for 1 year at the University of Applied Science in Bonn. And my research area has to do with technology adoption. I have been researching in this area for the past 5 to 6 years now, in which I always try to see how technology adoption has been intensified, especially at the individual and also as well as the organizational level. So today I would like to contribute to this conference with the topic consequence of COVID-19 in the post-pandemic era in the business environment. So sharing with you the motivation behind this particular topic, then the conceptual framework that supported this idea, then the methodology in which I pursued to be able to arrive with the findings and the major implication and the conclusion of this particular article. I would like to emphasize that this particular article is still in progress. I have done first phase of the research and I intend to share uh, the results of this particular study, even though with the beginning during, should I even say, in 2020 when the COVID-19, there was a declaration about lockdown. I did a similar work together with my team on this same, team, and we tried to extend the coverage to see how, especially the low digitalized economy, particularly in Africa, developing countries, try to see how the post-pandemic has reshaped the business environment. So the motivation behind this is to come out with strategies or some constraints and prospects that has emerged after the outbreak of this pandemic disease. We know very well that the global business fluctuation have become a driving force for digitalization to maintain an international presence. It is well to know that every company, every company always would like to go international or to go global. And for every company to be able to ensure global presence, technology cannot be in isolation. Technology is always important, irrespective of the nature of the company, whether the company is small, medium, or large. So the aim of this particular study is to, explore how COVID-19 pandemic has influenced the outcomes, has influenced the outcomes of XMEs, or should I even say service-based firms, particularly in the context of low digitalized operations or low digitalized companies. In order to be able to move on with this particular study, uh, I did a lot of literature review. I rely on several articles connected to COVID-19 to see how COVID-19 has really affected or has impacted on the general setting of every company, and try to also look at how technology adoption, and for that matter, innovation adoption, has occurred after the outbreak. And I mean, several concepts such as innovative marketing, how companies have been able to embrace innovative marketing as a result of this pandemic. And also, some of the concepts I also, I mean, identify has to do with the poor business relationship when it comes to stakeholders of companies such as creditors, such as suppliers, such as even the shareholders. How these, I mean, direct stakeholders have had an impact as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. And the fifth concept I also deduced from the literature has to do with how the COVID-19 has been able to, I mean, uh, disconnected customers and companies. How, I mean, sellers have been able to have a very bad relationship with customers. And the last concept I also, I mean, deduce has to do with technical know-how. With regards to technical know-how, I mean, explore how adequate knowledge of digitalization, people, I mean, experience with using technology, how has it been able to moderate the above five concepts? How technology, how technical know-how, I mean, how knowledge, skills about the use of digital devices has really impacted on the consequence of COVID-19 towards the adoption of technology within the SMEs or within the service-based firms. So, looking after the literature, after a rigorous literature review, I came out with a conceptual framework on how the post-pandemic has really impacted uh, the adoption of technology through these, I mean, concepts. For example, I was able to come out with 8 hypotheses, in which the first 7 hypotheses has to do with the direct relationship, how COVID-19 has impacted on technology adoption through customer relationship, all the way to innovative marketing, and also how COVID-19 has been able to affect stakeholder relationship with the company or with the firms through, I mean, through all the way to the technology acceptance. So when you see clearly on this, I mean, a framework, you see that I have 8 hypotheses in which the technical know-how was was used as a moderating factor to see how they play an interactive role, how they really impact the consequence towards the adoption within SMEs or within service-based firms. So, in the nutshell, this framework talks about the consequence of COVID-19 on business environment. Going forward, I came out with this procedure in order to be able to come out with this empirical study. Uh, the study was purely a quantitative in nature, where uh, convenient, or should I even say non-probability sampling technique was used, basically with service-based firms in Ghana. So we try to see how service-based firms, particularly within the financial industry, how have they been able to respond, or how, or what has been the changes as a result of COVID-19 outbreak? How has it been affected in their operation? Also, basically, this survey, I considered mostly the management and the employees of these service-based firms. So people who work in these service-based firms were contacted for this particular survey. And like I said, non-randomized sampling techniques such as purposive. I use purposive, and if you want, together with convenient, that is, the study was purposely to see how service-based firms, especially within the financial sector, what have been the outcome of the operation as a result of COVID-19. Then, after the data collection, I use the PLSM algorithm, particularly using the smart PLS, to analyze the survey to see the major findings that occur. In moving forward, before the data collection, I use the 5-point Likert scales to analyze the perception, the level of agreement and disagreement to which the management and employees of these selected service-based firms, how they perceive the concept that was used to analyze their perception towards technology adoption. In all, a total of 28 items, 28 variables were used for the 6 constructs. So all the 6 concepts that were used in the conceptual framework, there were 28 items that were used. And I would like to re-emphasize that all the concepts were deduced from related literature. So literature that talks about the impact of COVID-19 or the outcome of COVID-19 or the effect of COVID-19 in the various segment or in the various industry were used from the literature. For example, the concept COVID-19 were deduced from the articles of Gousset and other related. And with respect to the consequences of COVID-19, I got, for example, 4 concepts such as stakeholder relation, customer relationship, technology adoption, and innovative marketing. So these were where the various references attached were where I deduced this concept. And the moderator too was taken from Liu et al. 2016. So let's see the findings of this work. Like I told you, out of 400 questionnaires that were distributed, ideally I printed over 300 hard copy questionnaire, and I also forwarded the link to about 100 respondents from these particular institutions. So in all, I was expecting 400, filled questionnaire, but at the end of the day, all the 400 questionnaire that I received, not all of them were well filled. Some were not properly filled. So 357 out of 400, questionnaire that I distributed were valid for data analysis. And I would like to re-emphasize that looking at the preview or the demographic analysis of the respondent, you realize that within the financial sector, most of the respondents were from the banking and the microfinance institutions, contributing to approximately 66% of the respondents, whilst 29% of these respondents were from the insurance sector, and the remaining 4.5% were from other sectors within the financial industry. So based on the targeted sampling frame or targeted sample size of 400, I can conclude that 357 out of these 400 were adequate enough for the study to proceed on further analysis. So with regards to the analysis of the 6 constructs that were examined, for example, the impact of COVID-19, innovative marketing, poor business relation, customer relationship, technical know-how, and technology acceptance and innovation. With respect to the validity and that of the reliability based on Her et al. And based on other, eminent researchers, none of this coefficient was even less than 0.5, and for that matter, we have adequate, reliability and validity of the chosen constructs with respect to the analysis or the measures or the coefficients that were emerged from the analysis. So this, moving to the structural equation, or moving to the hypotheses that were tested, it is important to state that the consequence variable, or should I even say the antecedent variable, the COVID-19 towards technology adoption is said to be an important variable that has really contributed to the adoption of technology. When you see clearly about the relationships, you realize that COVID-19 has really affected positively and significantly affected the poor customer relationship that has emerged. Equally, similarly, COVID-19 has also really impacted about the poor relationship between, firms and their major stakeholders. Irrespective, irrespective of any stakeholder that a company has a relation with, the presence or the outbreak of COVID-19 has really impacted and contributed to a significant impact when it comes to the relationship between a company and its major stakeholders. We also, if you look clearly about the model, you realize that we have the direct and the indirect, the relationship over here. The indirect relationship, I considered basically about the impact or the interaction effect of technical know-how, how technical know-how has moderated the relationship between the antecedent variable and the dependent variable. So we know very well that the dependent variable here has to do with the technology adoption and innovation, whilst the antecedent variable or the independent variables are the COVID-19 for customer relation, poor business relation. When I say poor business relation, I'm talking about the stakeholders, the direct stakeholders who have major influence, especially on the business processes. And also look about how innovative marketing has also a direct impact on the dependent variable technology adoption. So clearly, you could see from the model that, especially in analyzing the moderating effect, we realize that uh, te- technical know-how, that is the knowledge, skills that is needed for companies to be able to integrate very well with the use of technology adoption. It came out clearly from our findings that uh, technical know-how moderate the relation, have a significant impact on the relationship between innovative marketing and technology adoption. This implies that in as much as firms, service-based firms would like to come out with innovative idea or innovative marketing strategy, innovative advertising strategy in which they can use to propagate, in which they can use to, project their product and services to the general public. It is important to also consider how their knowledge, their experiences, technical know-how, the experience in using technology, the experience in using, modern, facilities that could enable them to be able to embrace technology is very important over here. So within the moderation analysis, only only the impact on innovative marketing towards technology adoption was seen to be the most important and significant impact that may facilitate the relationship between internet innovative marketing and that of uh, technology adoption. However, when it comes to the exact COVID-19 impact towards technology adoption, there was no moderation, there was no significant moderation effect from technical know-how. Likewise, customer relationship towards, even though customer relationship towards technology adoption, there were a negative relation indicating that less technical know-how or low level of experience using technology may contribute to a reduction, may contribute to a decline from the customer's point of view towards the adoption of technology. So in all, one will understand that with respect to technology adoption with this service-based firm, especially in the developing country or less digitalized economies such as Ghana, it is important to understand that technical know-how is a major factor. Technical know-how, I mean, with the experiences, knowledge, and preparedness towards adoption. All these antecedents are quite important for SMEs to pay attention, not necessarily SMEs, even large firms as well, because we know very well that within the context of the emerging economy or within the context of developing economy, uh, experiences with regards to the use of technology is quite important for SMEs or for companies to be able to, I mean, pay attention to as a major contributing factor towards technology adoption. One may ask about the contribution with respect to the managerial point of view. It is evidently known that this work not necessarily adds to the growing literature of COVID-19, but it set as a guide for managers, for industry players, as a strategic management tool that will enable them to accelerate the digitalization among their operation. So this evidence also suggests that this empirical study suggests that managers and industry players or business developers must pay attention to the necessary antecedents towards technology adoption, that some important elements, some important or core important devices must be in place, or some important information must be needed for companies to be able to accelerate digital adoption. Notwithstanding, this study also, I mean, shows how companies can design or devise some corporate practices. For example, how they can inculcate in-service training, consistent, I mean, orientation and awareness on digital innovation. Because when you come clearly within especially with the SME sector within the developing country, most of these firms are lacking the knowledge needed to be able to incorporate digital integration. So these studies will rather be a guide, it will rather be a remedy, should I even say, as a strategic tool that could inform policymakers, that could inform strategies on how they can be able to incorporate digital solutions in their operation. In conclusion, let me conclude by saying that COVID-19, even though has brought about, I mean, damages to many, I mean, businesses. However, within the viewpoint from business perspective or within the academic point of view, it has rather, I mean, brought about prospect. When we talk about prospect over here, I'm talking about how COVID-19 in general has contributed to technology adoption. So it is important that practitioners shouldn't see this as a more or less a damage or as a something negative towards their practices, but rather informing or rather more or less reshaping how companies could see in the future. The paper also, though, present investigation into consequence of COVID-19 in the post-pandemic era. So this really clearly suggests that post-pandemic, we realize that the COVID-19 has indeed come out with both pros and cons associated with this pandemic, such as when we talk about the constraints or the cons, it means we are talking about the poor, how it has contributed to poor stakeholder relation, poor customer relations, and possibly lack of technical know-how, because it is clearly known that the outbreak of COVID-19 has really exposed companies or employees who don't have requisite knowledge about technology. So this particular impact or this, I mean, outbreak has really, I mean, given managers, SMEs, and other companies on how they should pay attention to digital education. So it is important to understand that digital education or digital orientation among managers of companies is quite important. So this study suggests the possible, prospect and then possible constraints that can occur even if there is any, outbreak that may occur in the future, not necessarily COVID. If there's any, natural disaster or any, health issue that may occur in the future, it is important to understand that those impact not necessarily harm a company, but it's rather, have a positive aspect on how things can be changed, because we know very well that technology keeps evolving. Technology keeps evolving. So we don't know what will happen in the future. And right now we know how AI is, applied in all spheres of business. So this study really contributes to the perspectives in terms of academic and industry point of view by shaping how technology adoption could be integrated extensively irrespective of the nature of such a company or such an entity. So for that matter, I will end here with let me just add the limitation of this particular study. Let me re-emphasize that the study was purely quantitative, so it will be interested if a mixed approach could be done in the same direction. Also, the study was particularly centered on financial institutions without considering other service-based sectors within the service sector. So I will be interested to see studies that may also come from other sectors within the service industry. And I have to admit that not all the variables, not all these concepts that were examined or that were explored could be described as the only the consequence and prospects of COVID-19. Other variables might have been ignored. So future studies could also consider other variables that talks about the consequence and the prospects of COVID-19. Thank you. And these are some of my selected references for this article. And I'll be very glad if you can share any questions to me so that I will be able to answer. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.